Have you ever wondered why some people walk into a room and instantly command respect, while others, maybe even you, get overlooked, interrupted, or dismissed? Think about it. You've worked hard, you've tried to be nice, you've bent over backwards to make people happy. And yet, somehow you're still not taken seriously. Why? Here is the brutal truth. You've been taught your entire life that being liked is the key to success, love, and acceptance. Parents reward good behavior. Schools condition you to raise your hand and wait your turn. Society praises those who smile, comply, and say yes. You were trained to believe that approval is survival. But what if I told you that this conditioning is the very thing destroying your power? Imagine this. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and you shrug it off. A colleague takes credit for your idea, and you stay quiet. A friend cancels plans again, and you politely say, "No problem." Each time you do this, you think you're keeping the peace. But what's really happening is far darker. You're teaching people that disrespect has no consequence. You're training them to see you as safe to ignore, safe to exploit, safe to walk all over. Machiavelli saw this centuries ago. He wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." He wasn't glorifying cruelty. He was revealing a psychological law. Respect is not born from kindness, but from boundaries. It doesn't come from being liked. It comes from being untouchable. And here's the question you must face. Are you ready to stop being liked and instead unlock the dark power of respect? Because until you do, you'll remain invisible in a world that only remembers those who refuse to be overlooked. Before we go further, if this message already stirs something inside you, if you feel the discomfort of truth breaking through, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. That way, I'll be the first to know when I release the next video that cuts through illusions and helps you reclaim your personal power. Think back to your own life for a moment. How many times have you found yourself swallowing your words, forcing a smile, or agreeing to something you didn't want, just to avoid conflict, just to be liked? Maybe it was at work, when you stayed late because you didn't want to disappoint your boss. Maybe it was with a friend, when you laughed off a disrespectful joke because you didn't want to seem uptight. Or maybe it was with family, when you said yes out of guilt, even though every fiber of your being screamed no. On the surface, these moments seem harmless. You tell yourself you're being kind, flexible, understanding. You convince yourself that people will appreciate you for it. But deep inside, after enough repetitions of this pattern, you start to feel something eating away at you. Resentment, exhaustion, a hollow frustration that whispers, "Why does no one treat me the way I deserve?" The answer is painful, but it's not mysterious. People treat you the way you've trained them to treat you. Every time you say yes when you mean no, every time you let someone cross a line without consequence, every time you bury your true feelings for the sake of approval, you are conditioning others to see you as weak. You are teaching them, silently, that your boundaries don't exist. This is not a matter of intelligence or capability. Many of the people who fall into this trap are smart, talented, even accomplished. The problem isn't that the world fails to see their worth. It's that they themselves don't enforce it. They're addicted to being liked, enslaved by a need for approval so deep they don't realize it governs their every decision. Niccolò Machiavelli, writing 500 years ago, understood this paradox of human psychology. He observed that people respect strength, not submission. He saw that love without fear dissolves into indifference, while fear without love hardens into tyranny. But the balance between the two, that is where true authority is born. Yet most of us, conditioned from childhood, have been led into the opposite extreme. Desperate to be loved, terrified of being disliked. Think of how this plays out in modern life. At the office, the agreeable employee is praised as a team player, but rarely promoted. In relationships, the partner who never sets boundaries ends up resented, not cherished. In friendships, the one who's always available becomes background noise. Meanwhile, those who command real respect, who are valued, listened to, and even admired, are often the ones who refuse to compromise their self-respect for approval. And here is where the trap reveals itself most cruelly. The people you bend over backwards for, the ones you try hardest to please, often don't value you more for it. In fact, they value you less. Because what is abundant loses its value, and what is predictable loses its power. When you're always available, always agreeable, always desperate to be liked, you become invisible. Machiavelli warned us, men are so simple and so ready to obey present necessities that he who deceives will always find someone who will allow himself to be deceived. Translate that into today's language, and it means this: when you make your need for approval obvious, there will always be someone ready to exploit it. This is why so many people feel trapped in a cycle of exhaustion. They give and give, yet feel unseen. They try to be nice, yet end up ignored. They seek approval, yet only find themselves manipulated. The world doesn't reward approval seekers. The world uses them. And so the question becomes, how much longer will you keep playing this game? How many more times will you silence yourself just to avoid disapproval? How many more years will you spend bowing to the false god of being liked, while the real currency respect slips further and further from your grasp? Because here is the unshakable truth. Until you break free from this addiction to approval, you will never know what it feels like to be truly respected. Let's take these ideas out of abstraction and into the raw texture of real life. Because theory means nothing until you see how it operates in the world you live in every day. Picture the workplace. There are two employees, let's call them Alex and Jordan. Alex is competent, reliable, and always agreeable. When the boss asks for a volunteer to stay late, Alex raises his hand. When a colleague forgets their deadline, Alex quietly covers for them. When credit for a project gets misattributed, Alex smiles and lets it go. Everyone likes Alex, but here's the catch: nobody truly respects him. He is dependable, but forgettable. Jordan, on the other hand, is no more talented than Alex, but Jordan has one crucial difference: boundaries. When asked to stay late without a good reason, Jordan politely declines. When a colleague tries to offload their mistakes, Jordan makes it clear where responsibility lies. When the boss tries to cut him off mid-sentence, Jordan calmly insists on finishing his point. Does everyone like Jordan? Not always. But when decisions are made, when promotions are considered, when serious discussions happen, Jordan's voice is heard. Why? Because people respect him. Now let's move into relationships. Consider the partner who is endlessly forgiving. Their significant other cancels plans last minute, ignores messages, takes them for granted. Each time, forgiveness comes easily. They think this generosity will prove their love. But over time, instead of feeling cherished, they feel invisible. Their partner stops valuing their time, their presence, their sacrifices, because abundance without consequence breeds contempt. Contrast that with someone who sets limits. When their partner disrespects their time, they don't lash out, but they don't excuse it either. They create distance, withdraw affection, make it clear that intimacy cannot coexist with disregard. Suddenly, the dynamic shifts. The partner realizes there is a cost to neglect. Respect begins to grow where blind forgiveness only created weakness. Friendships tell the same story. The friend who always says yes, yes to lending money, yes to favors, yes to rearranging their schedule soon, becomes the one everyone uses, but no one prioritizes. They're liked, but not valued. Meanwhile, the friend who is selective, who sometimes says no, who isn't always available, becomes the one people seek out more intentionally. Why? Because scarcity creates value, and distance creates gravity. History itself is littered with examples. Leaders who sought to be liked often collapsed under the weight of their own neediness, while those who commanded respect sometimes feared, sometimes loved, but never desperate for approval shaped the course of nations. Think of Abraham Lincoln, who was not universally liked, often despised during his presidency, yet commanded respect through unwavering conviction. Or Rosa Parks, who didn't beg to be liked but earned eternal respect because she refused to surrender her dignity. Machiavelli's lesson comes alive in each of these stories. Respect is forged not in the shallow waters of approval, but in the deep fire of consequence. People don't value what costs them nothing. They don't admire the endlessly agreeable. They don't remember those who never demand to be remembered. And here's where it becomes personal. You've likely been Alex at work, the overly forgiving partner, the always available friend. You've thought, if I just give more, they'll finally see my worth. But the paradox is brutal. The more you give without boundaries, the less worth you appear to have. Real respect is born when you stop teaching people that they can walk on you without repercussion. It's born when you stop chasing approval and start enforcing the truth that your time, your energy, your presence are not free commodities, but priceless resources. So ask yourself, who in your life has been treating you like Alex? Who has been taking without giving, disrespecting without consequence, and getting away with it because you've been too eager to be liked? And more importantly, when will you finally stop playing their game? Because until you do, you will remain predictable. And in the psychology of power, predictability is weakness. But the moment you shift even slightly from approval seeking to boundary setting, you will feel the tectonic plates of your relationships begin to move. People will notice. They will test you. Some will leave. But those who remain will finally, perhaps for the first time, begin to respect you. We've looked at the patterns and the real-world stories, but now it's time to go deeper into the psychology, into the philosophy, into the uncomfortable truths that explain why chasing approval enslaves you and why respect liberates you. At the core of this dynamic lies a simple principle. Every human interaction is a negotiation of power. It doesn't matter if it's a conversation with your boss, a dinner with friends, or a late-night argument with your partner. Beneath the surface, two questions are always at play. Who holds control here? And whose values will define this moment? When you seek approval, you hand that control away. You say, your opinion of me matters more than my opinion of myself. You give others the remote control to your emotions. If they smile, you feel good. If they frown, you feel anxious. If they withhold validation, you feel worthless. This is why Machiavelli described approval seeking as weakness. It makes you manipulable. Anyone who understands your need can push your buttons, and you will dance to their tune. Think about how the brain works in this loop. Neuroscience tells us that approval triggers dopamine, the same neurotransmitter that responds to drugs or gambling. Every compliment, every like on social media, every nod of approval delivers a chemical rush. But like any high, it fades. And so you chase the next one and the next one, until you've built an identity not on who you are, but on who others allow you to be. Carl Jung would call this the tyranny of the persona, the mask we wear to be accepted. When we seek approval, we strengthen the mask but weaken the soul. We gain temporary smiles but lose authenticity. And authenticity, paradoxically, is the very source of respect. People may like your mask, but they only respect the person who dares to drop it. Machiavelli, ever the realist, stripped away the illusion. He wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." What he meant is this: people are satisfied with the performance you give them. They rarely demand to see the truth. But if your performance is designed to be endlessly likable, it becomes predictable. And predictable people can be controlled. Respect, however, works differently. It is built not on approval, but on consequence. When others know that crossing you has a cost, be it your withdrawal, your silence, your refusal to engage, they adjust. Respect is not given freely. It is extracted either through strength, consistency, or the unshakable clarity of your boundaries. This is why people who command respect often appear calm, detached, even slightly cold. They are not desperate for your approval. They are not controlled by your reactions. They act from inner stability, not outer validation. Nietzsche once described this as the power of becoming untouchable by society's judgments. To him, freedom meant the courage to stand alone, even at the price of being disliked. Now here is the paradox. When you stop needing to be liked, you often become more respected and, strangely, more genuinely liked as well. Because people can sense when you're performing. They can smell desperation like a predator smells fear. But when you stand rooted in self-respect, when you no longer bend to every breeze of opinion, something shifts. You stop being disposable, you become magnetic. This is not about arrogance. It's not about dominating others or being cruel. True respect is not tyranny. It is in equilibrium. It's the recognition that your worth is not up for debate, and therefore your time, attention, and energy are not free to be squandered. People instinctively respect those who respect themselves. So let's strip the illusion bare. Being liked is cheap. Anyone can give you that. It costs them nothing to say nice words, to click a like, to offer surface-level approval. Respect, however, is costly. It requires them to adjust their behavior, to restrain their impulses, to measure their words. And people only pay that price when you demand it through boundaries. Here's the bottom line. The approval seeker lives in psychological slavery, chained to the whims of others. The respected individual lives in psychological freedom, guided by their own compass. Which life do you want? Because the world doesn't remember the agreeable, it remembers the unshakable. So far, we've exposed the problem. The endless chase for approval and the silent erosion of your self-worth. We've dissected the psychology and seen how it plays out in real life. Now comes the most important part, the path forward. How do you break free from this addiction to being liked and step into the darker, deeper power of being respected? Let's be clear. This is not about becoming cruel, arrogant, or indifferent to humanity. Machiavelli's wisdom has often been misunderstood as a call to tyranny, when in reality, it was a mirror held up to human nature. He wasn't telling you to become a monster. He was telling you that respect requires boundaries, and boundaries require courage. If you can embrace this, you can transform your relationships, your career, and your life. Step 1. Speak less, act more. Most people sabotage themselves with words. They explain, justify, apologize, and overcommunicate. This does not earn respect. It drains it. Silence, on the other hand, radiates strength. Speak when your words matter, and let your actions carry the weight. When disrespected, don't lecture about respect, withdraw, enforce consequences, and move forward. The less you plead for understanding, the more people understand you mean business. Step 2. Never chase approval. This is the hardest discipline to master. The human brain craves validation like oxygen. But here is the truth. Every time you chase it, you lose power. Stop double texting people who ignore you. Stop bending your values to win someone's affection. Stop trying to impress those who would never respect you anyway. Indifference to approval is magnetic. People are drawn to those who don't need them. Step 3. Stay calm under attack. Your reaction is the battlefield. When someone insults you, criticizes you, or tries to provoke you, they are testing whether they can control your emotions. If you explode, they win. If you defend yourself frantically, they win. But if you remain composed, cold, steady, even amused, you've just proven that you cannot be touched. That psychological untouchability is terrifying to manipulators and profoundly attractive to those seeking strength. Step 4. Become unpredictable. Predictability is the leash of approval seekers. If people always know you'll say yes, they will exploit it. If they always know you'll forgive, they will disrespect you. If they always know you'll stay calm, they will press harder. But when you introduce strategic unpredictability, sometimes generous, sometimes ruthless, sometimes available, sometimes distant, you become impossible to control. Machiavelli captured this perfectly. Since love and fear can hardly exist together, if we must choose between them, it is far safer to be feared than loved. Step 5. Enforce boundaries swiftly and silently. The power of a boundary lies in its enforcement, not in your speeches about it. When someone crosses the line, act quickly and proportionally. If a friend disrespects your time, stop rearranging your schedule for them. If a colleague takes credit for your work, confront it immediately and assert ownership. Do this without anger, without apology, without hesitation. Swift, silent enforcement teaches others that your boundaries are not suggestions, they are laws. Step 6. Use scarcity and distance as multipliers. This principle may be the most counterintuitive of all. You've been taught that being constantly available proves your value. In truth, it erodes it. Scarcity creates value, always has, always will. Limit your time. Limit your responses. Limit your availability. When you stop showing up for everyone, people begin to treasure the moments you do show up. Your presence becomes an event, not a background noise. The inner awakening. These steps aren't just tactics, they are a transformation. To live them requires a deep shift. From "I hope they like me" to "I don't care if they like me." From "I need their approval" to "they must earn my respect." From "my worth depends on them" to "my worth is non-negotiable." This is where philosophy becomes more than theory. Carl Jung said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to a better understanding of ourselves." Your frustration at being overlooked is not just about others. It is a mirror showing you where you have abandoned yourself. To reclaim respect from the world, you must first reclaim it from within. And here lies the true awakening. Respect is not something you wait for. It's something you create. Not through aggression, not through cruelty, but through the unshakable decision to stop accepting anything less. The moment you enforce this within yourself, the world shifts around you. So ask yourself, are you ready to stop living as a performer in someone else's theater? Are you ready to become the director of your own stage? Because respect, unlike approval, doesn't come with applause. It comes with silence, the silence of people who dare not cross you, who weigh their words before speaking, who recognize your presence as something they cannot afford to lose. That silence, though invisible, is the loudest form of recognition you will ever receive. We've traveled a long way together in this exploration, from the trap of approval to the quiet strength of respect. And now, the question that lingers is not whether you understand the theory, but whether you will act on it. Because knowledge without action is just another form of self-deception. Let's pause for a moment. Think of the years you've spent bending, adjusting, performing. Think of the countless times you've smiled when you wanted to scream, agreed when you wanted to refuse, forgave when you should have enforced. Think of the exhaustion of being invisible in rooms where you should have been seen, unheard in conversations where your voice should have mattered, overlooked in relationships where your heart gave too much. Now ask yourself, what has all that approval ever truly given you? Did it make you stronger? Did it bring you respect? Or did it leave you empty, waiting for another hit of validation that never lasted? The truth is brutal. Approval is an addiction. It soothes you for a moment, then enslaves you for years. Respect, however, is freedom. Respect means no longer needing to perform. Respect means no longer fearing disapproval. Respect means no longer being controlled by the unpredictable moods of others. Respect means finally becoming the author of your own worth. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He saw that power belongs not to those who are loved, but to those who cannot be ignored. Carl Jung, in his own way, pointed to the same truth. Individuation, the process of becoming whole, requires shedding the masks we wear for acceptance and standing firm in our authentic self. Both thinkers, though separated by time and culture, reveal the same path. You must stop seeking approval and start embodying respect. This will not be easy. Some people will resist your transformation. Those who once thrived on your neediness will accuse you of being cold, selfish, even cruel. They will try to guilt you back into compliance. Let them. Their discomfort is proof that you are breaking the chains that once bound you. Others, however, will rise to meet you. They will adjust to your new boundaries, value your time, and treat your presence as the rare gift it truly is. These are the people worth keeping, the ones who respect you, not just like you. And most importantly, you will meet a version of yourself that you may not have known existed. A self that doesn't flinch at criticism, that doesn't crumble at rejection, that doesn't sell its soul for scraps of approval. A self that moves through the world not asking, "Do they like me?" but declaring, "I will not be disrespected." So here is your call to action. Stop begging to be liked. Stop trading your dignity for fleeting approval. Choose instead to cultivate respect. Speak less, act more. Stop chasing. Stay calm. Stay unpredictable. Enforce boundaries without apology. Withdraw when necessary. Make your presence scarce and your absence costly. Do this not once, but consistently, until it becomes your way of being. And watch how everything changes. Watch how people adjust. Watch how the room grows quieter when you enter, not because they like you, but because they respect you. Watch how opportunities begin to come your way, not because you begged, but because people know you cannot be dismissed. Watch how your confidence rises, not the shallow confidence of being praised, but the deep, immovable confidence of knowing your worth is not up for debate. In a world drowning in people desperate to be liked, be the rare one who refuses. Be the one who commands respect without needing to demand it. Be the one who, as Machiavelli said, understands that it is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles. The choice is in your hands. Will you keep waiting for scraps of approval, or will you seize the power of respect? Because the truth is simple. When you stop being liked, you start being respected. And when you are respected, everything in your life transforms. If this message spoke to something deep inside you, don't let it end here. Hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next video. Each one is designed to challenge illusions and awaken your strength. And I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me, which insight today hit you the hardest? Which lesson will you carry into your next interaction? Your voice matters here. Because together, we're rebuilding more than an audience. We're rebuilding a movement of people who refuse to be invisible, who choose respect over approval, and who are ready to reclaim their power.